Welcome back to Taiwan Outlook. Our guest today is Legislator Bi-khim Hsiao. Bi-khim, you've been involved in politics since you were a graduate student in the States. So what's your personal experience of being a politician in Taiwan, especially as a female politician?
Well, actually, it goes back before that. When
yeah.
I was an undergraduate student in the United States, I actually even took a semester off from college and came back to Taiwan to work as a volunteer in the democracy movement at the time. And for me, that was 15 years ago. Of course, Taiwan has changed a lot, and I've been involved in politics full-time since I left graduate school. It's been very rewarding, a very amazing period for me. I think it's almost like growing up with democracy in Taiwan. As a very young student, and seeing the dramatic change that has happened in Taiwan throughout the 1990s. I witnessed the first ever presidential election in this country, the first time ever that we've had a change in government through a democratic vote. Being there at these particular moments of Taiwan's history has been a very rewarding experience. Of course, even though I played only a small part in all of this, it's a feeling of being part of making history in Taiwan. And I think as a young person, as someone in my generation, I'm not young anymore,
well, you're young,
but
still young.
when I first started out in politics, seeing this progress and the freedom of speech, you know, the end of martial law, seeing the real progress in Taiwan was very inspirational, and it kept us going, you know, the energy and the momentum up until winning the actual election. I remember in the year 2000, March the 18th, the night that President Chen Shui-bian won the election, I was a master of ceremony up on the stage and, you know, announcing the victory. And you see the tens of thousands of people there. And the faces, some people have been waiting for this for their entire life. To see a change in government, to see the end of a one-party authoritarian rule. And it's a very touching moment, and I think anyone who's been through this would have no regrets. And indeed, we see Taiwan as a very free country today. We're all proud of being Taiwanese, and many people made tremendous sacrifices for that. But I think the fortunate part of my generation is that we were able to join politics and be very actively involved without the threat of being thrown in jail, without the threat of being exiled or even being murdered, executed. And these were the threats that our previous generations had to go through. But fortunate for my generation, we were free of those threats. Of course, my generation has new challenges. I happen to live through coming from opposition to the governing party, and it's different. You know, being a revolutionary, being in the opposition movement, being on the streets, demonstrating, fighting for freedom, and then actually having the responsibility of running a country. Of course, it's a very different kind of responsibility. And, you know, and of course, initially, most of us had no experience governing. And so we've had our ups and downs as well. And we've encountered tremendous challenges, especially in light of the fact that today the DPP doesn't have a majority in the legislature. So it's been a minority government with the external challenge of China and the external opposition of the other parties. It's been very challenging, of course. And I've personally, of course, you just asked as a female politician, as a woman, you know, in Taiwan, we actually have the highest level of women in parliament in Asia. Of course, it's a lot lower than some more mature democracies in Europe. But we have 22% in parliament now. And there have been many outstanding women in business and the private sector in Taiwan. So for a woman politician, of course, it's not as rare as for some other Asian countries. But I still think there have been certain challenges. For example, the media attention that is focused unnecessarily on our private lives, you know, with not as much attention put on our professional accomplishments. So I've often felt that as a woman politician, we need to work twice as hard as the men to be respected and recognized on an equal level. And this has certainly been challenging, but there have been many other very excellent women, and I have a great staff that is mostly women. And I've also worked to try to promote other women younger than I am in the city council and in other places, and they've done very well too. So I think our society is gradually becoming much more friendly for women in politics. But you know, just like anywhere in the world, politics has its downside as well. You know, we've had our amazing moments in history, but politics, there's also a downside, and sometimes, you know, you see the worst side.
What's the biggest frustration you have so far? What's the biggest frustration you have so far?
Well, I think, you know, the confrontation in the legislature that really puts everything at a standstill. You know, I travel a lot attending international events, and, you know, globally we're dealing with challenges of global warming, poverty. We're dealing with major issues on the global level. And we come back to Taiwan, and our party caucus is arranging where we're going to stand in the fighting position. And we're asked to, you know, put on our vests and get our fists out and, you know, and engage in a real physical confrontation, and where the real legislation, the real policy debate isn't as prominent. It doesn't get as much media attention as well. You know, most of the talk shows, the political talk shows in Taiwan, generally are focused on either personal attacks or partisan attacks. There's very little room for quality public policy debate. Partisan lines are drawn according to identity in this country, national identity in this country. But it's very hard to draw the lines between parties on real financial, fiscal policy, tax policy, social welfare policy, because there isn't enough debate and not enough attention on these real public policy issues. And I think that's really the unfortunate dimension of Taiwan politics. And you know, being part of the system has been very frustrating too, because, you know, we're mobilized every week to get our fists out and to engage in a physical confrontation, and that's not really what I campaigned really hard for. And but you know, our hope is also, of course, that things will eventually get better, that we're going
so do you think that's only
a transitional phase. I hope. I hope. The mood right now in Parliament doesn't give me a lot of reason to be optimistic. But I think Taiwanese people are optimistic by nature. We always find our ways around the most difficult circumstances, and we're in a very difficult period internally, domestically, and internationally. But I'm confident of the people. You know, I think we have a very poor image of Parliament, and that's why it was downsized by half. But I have a lot of confidence in the energy and vitality of our society. And hopefully in the long run, because our democracy system, the foundations are very solid. I don't think there's any chance that we could go back to an authoritarian or dictatorship period. Once people have enjoyed the freedom, they will not give it up as easily. And as long as we have a growing democracy, mature, you know, we're a young democracy, so we can't call ourselves mature. And that's why there are these fights and confrontations. But eventually, I hope that we will move into a more a period where real quality public policy discussion is possible.
As you mentioned, that the next legislature will be downsized with the new electoral system. With the new system, do you think that we are going to get a better legislature in terms of a performance, in terms of rational policy debates?
I guess it wouldn't be fair of me to judge, since I won't be part of the new legislature.
We'll talk about that later. Right?
But you know, the original intention was to downsize the parliament so that we could move the extreme partisan sides to a more moderate center. Because it's not only the downsizing, it's a new electoral system in
That's
which
right.
we elect only one person per district instead of multiple districts as we have right now. And so this will be a new system, and since we have no precedence for this, I guess the only parallel you could draw is with the city and county, the mayors and magistrates, where we also elect only one person. And we've done fairly well with that. So I think the challenge is within the political parties for them to come up with a party primary system that truly nominates the best people that the party has to offer. And I think all the parties will be learning in this process.
Yeah, but some scholars suggest that the new electoral system will favor the opposition KMT, and your party will be, in a very difficult position to become the majority party in the new legislature. Do you think that would be the case?
That's the general prediction that the new system favors the KMT, especially in because the fact that we have at least one person, we have one person per district, and there are places like the offshore islands where a small population elects one person, while there are larger counties like Yuan County where 400,000 citizens will also only have one representative. And so that uneven distribution of population and representation may cause a situation in which the KMT will easily have a dominating majority. But I think we design a system for the sake of the country, and we shouldn't have real partisan designs when establishing a new system. And the original intention of this new electoral system was for our country to move into a more rational political interaction in the parliament, and we have to see if that really works.
But as we know that the budget bill for this fiscal year is still stalled in the legislature. As a member of the legislature, how do you feel about that?
Well, I kind of feel ashamed that we are part of this system that's not really functioning appropriately or as we would hope ideally. And the budget is actually listed, always listed after a very controversial bill regarding the Central Election Commission, which we believe should be an independent commission, independent of partisan forces, whereas the opposition parties now want to pass a bill that would allow the political parties to be represented in this election commission. And so there is this ongoing debate, and because that particular bill is placed on the agenda item before the budget, everything is being stalled because we haven't reached consensus on the other issue. So it's already 6 months delayed, and but fortunately our government is still functioning. It does affect the new projects, though, the new projects. But you know, this is really a sad phenomenon of partisan politics in this country, and we certainly hope that no matter what the election outcome is next time, that eventually our country can move in a direction where people can rationally discuss issues for the sake of the country instead of partisan interests.
Finally, on a personal question, unfortunately, you did not get a nomination from your party this time. And would that, affect your career planning? Will there be a career change on your part?
Look, well, the good news is that I get a little break. It's not easy being a politician, especially a politician. I don't have a faction. I don't have other businesses or other incomes to maintain my political base, and it's been very challenging and but rewarding at the same time, of course, from a intellectual and a political standpoint. But I think there are many ways one can contribute to the country. I think being a politician, an elected politician, is one of the ways one can contribute and be useful or try to be useful to society, even though probably our society feels that the elected politicians are not They're a source of chaos in this country instead of positive contributions. But But there are a lot of ways one can continue to contribute to our country, especially I have a strong commitment to Taiwan. I have a strong commitment to ensuring to fight for justice for Taiwan on an international level.
Yeah.
And there are many ways I can do that. And of course, I hope I can find the best way eventually. But I'm really glad to have a break for now.
Well, whatever you choose to do in the future, wish you all the best. And thank you for coming to our program.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Taiwan Outlook, and see you next week.